Whenever you're ready. You've got 8 people joined online. Okay, so we're ready. Large font.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Scott McMillan, and I am president of the board of the West Suburban Humane Society. It's my pleasure to welcome everyone here to the 2022 annual general meeting of the board of West Suburban Humane Society. It's exciting for us because the last 2 years we have not been able to have a live meeting due to COVID. So we're very happy that everyone can be here, or at least as many who are comfortable to be here with us today, as well as some folks online. And it's also, I know we've all been in this building now for over 2 years, but this is the first time we've been able to hold the general meeting in our actual own facility, because as those of you who were with us more than 2.5 years ago know, we were in that small 1950s home next door that did not have the capacity to host an annual general meeting. So one of the nice things about being in the new facility is that we can have this meeting and be all together in our own building. We have a series of presentations tonight that we will go through, so you'll get to hear a lot about what's going on with our organization and what our plans are for the future. But before we start that, I would like to introduce Representative Ann Stava-Murray, who is our local state representative, who would like to come up and say a few things.
Thank you. And thank you for inviting me to be here tonight to share with you this certificate of recognition for the West Suburban Humane Society. So this is a certificate of recognition that I put forth in front of the General Assembly in recognition of West Suburban Humane Society's 50th anniversary. The West Suburban Humane Society was established as a 501c3 in June 1972 as a no-kill pet rescue. Since then, it has built a new adoption center that houses up to 25 dogs and 60 cats. Each year, West Suburban Humane Society finds homes for approximately 500 dogs and cats from local shelters and rescues from all over the Midwest. West Suburban Humane Society's mission is supported by over 450 volunteers. During the pandemic in 2021, West Suburban Humane Society donated over 5,000 pounds of pet food to local food pantries and created a comprehensive handout for pet owners in need, offered by Representative Ann Stava-Murray. Thank you so much. And thank you for all you do for our community. It just means so much, I know, to me and so many of my constituents, the amazing services that you bring to our community. So thank you.
Thank you very much. And as Representative Stava-Murray pointed out, this is our 50th anniversary. In fact, this month, 50 years ago this month, is when West Suburban was originally founded. And so yet another reason to be proud to be here discussing our organization today. With that, I would like to turn the podium over to Carolyn Mossberger, our Executive Director, for the Executive Director's Report.
Thank you, Scott. Good. Okay, sorry, this little doing it virtually and live is a little different. As Scott said, I'm Carolyn. I think I know most of you. For those of you who don't, I have been involved with West Suburban since 1989. I was such a little kid when I started. Like now you have to be 16. Back then you could be 2 and you could start. It was amazing. So, you know, times have changed, but anyway, but I've been the director. It will be 22 years this year, and I'm very proud to be part of our shelter and our mission. So I'm going to go through my update here. Like Scott said, it's been 2 years since we moved into our new building, and as with all things, as we are here, wear and tear starts to happen on the building. The good news is the HVAC system is working, and that's the good news. That has been our biggest challenge. Not that it wasn't working. I guess it was the operator error or something. But anyway, we got it figured out. So our HVAC system, our issues have been resolved, and temperatures in the animal areas are being appropriately regulated, which is important. My office is still freezing cold, but I don't care as long as the animals are comfortable. We are going with that. you know, things are breaking. We had to buy a new washing machine. Our dryer broke because we're turning the knob counterclockwise instead of clockwise. So little things that we just have to be careful of. Brian, who's our VP, who's not here, he is in the construction field, and he is working with me to find a maintenance person, a handyman to help with repairs so that we cannot go back to our old building, right? We cannot go into disarray. So he is helping me to find someone who will come in on a monthly basis, fix things like the guillotine doors, the wires, I don't know what they're called, but the cords, those are breaking, those are fraying. The pulleys are bending. I've had to go up, and they're very flexible actually, and you know, change those pulleys. Cage latches need to be adjusted. Some of the cage latches, we have leaky faucets. This is all just part of all the people in and out of our building. I mean, actually, I think we're doing a pretty good job of maintaining. You know, we need paint. I am looking at things. They do actually make paints that are more durable than regular paints, but they are extremely expensive. I talked to our architect. They could be up to like $300 a gallon for paint, but it's like industrial prison grade paint or something. I don't know. We're also looking at options for maybe, well, it's true. It's like a stainless steel maybe in some of the areas where we could do stainless so that the cats are not able to scratch it. But again, these are all things that we're working on. We could clear an area and paint it. Unfortunately, the minute we put an animal back in that area, it's not going to look nice again. So we're trying to come up with what can we do to fix those, to patch that up and make it look better. Staffing news, we did just have a new staff member join our team. Her name is Cassidy Santon. Cassidy is working at our adoption desk. She's going to be one of our adoption counselors. She has volunteered here since she was in 6th grade with her mom, and they are also long-term fosters of ours. They do foster puppies for us. So we're very excited to have Cassidy on board. We are still looking for an animal care technician. So that position is proving much harder to fill. So if you think you know someone that might be interested, the hours are 7 to 3, Monday through Friday, some Saturdays, very few Saturdays, but it's a lot of fun. It's hard work, but it is fun. So if you know anyone interested, please send them my way. Communication is the next thing I want to talk about. So one of the things that we've heard from the VAC committee and working with them is that we need to improve our communication to the volunteers. So some things that we've done to try to change that currently, we're trying to put more current information on the kennel and cattery flash reports. Those get changed on a daily basis. We're trying to keep them as up to date as possible. The intake sheets, it's important for you guys to know, we heard like, where did the animals come from or why were they returned? So we've added that line. When an animal is new, you'll see a little sheet. We've added that on there. If we know in the case of why, well, returns we know, right? So for instance, Barney came back because his owner was moving. Cash got returned because his owners are getting no divorce. So if we have that information from an animal control, if we know their story, we're putting it. If we don't, we're just putting the animal control. With cats, they asked if we could add the microchip to that information so that when they're in their cattery, they can know who's who. So we've added that. We have also tried to add, and we had this cute little form that we were putting on the animals that said, I have an adoption pending, or I've been adopted. That went by the wayside, so we've got that back going. I talked to the adoption desk and said, let's get that going. And then I've reinstated the biweekly animal write-ups and updates. So we are trying, but if you think of a better way, I know that people aren't always on email, so the VAC committee does print out all the reports, all those things, they're in a binder in the break room. But again, please send me an email or Heidi or anybody, just if you have other ideas of things that we can be doing, because communication is very important and we want to make sure we are communicating accurate and timely information to everybody. Another thing that we started, kennel training. Enjoy Your Dog. We work with them. They have come out and they're going to be doing throughout the spring, summer, and fall. They're going to be doing training. So 2 of our dogs get to go through for an 8-week session. Right now it is Zuko and Chevy. We have volunteers that are handling each of those dogs through the session, and then we have 8 to 10 other volunteers who are there observing. And then we're starting a new session Tuesday, I think it's June 14th. I hope that's right. It's next Tuesday. We'll have 2 new dogs going through with a whole new set of volunteers. So we're hoping that as many volunteers that want to attend these training sessions are able to do that and learn more about handling our dogs. This is newly published information, Sunday, July 24th, which is the day after the Jimmy Buffett concert. So I'm not going to lie, I'm not happy about this, but this is the only day it can happen. The trainers from Bark Avenue are going to come in and do a 3-hour seminar for staff and right now STAR volunteers. It may open up to others, but I'm going to put out a thing if there's topics you want covered, but they're going to really focus on dog body language, different tools and training techniques. And then there'll be like a Q&A session. Anything you have about why are you using this tool? What about, they've trained all of our STAR dogs. So, Walter's doing this. Why does he do this? Or why did you do this in response to what Walter's doing? So I'm hoping that that will be beneficial to everyone to come out and attend that. Volunteer appreciation party, Saturday, August 14th. Because it's our 50th anniversary, we're going to do something special this year. The last couple years, we've done a volunteer gift. This year, we're going to have a party here at the Adoption Center. It will be from 3 to 6, so it's in between shifts, so everyone will get a chance to attend. There's going to be food, games, and a special visit from Rainbow Cone Truck. If you have not had Rainbow Cone, they are delicious. So Rainbow Cone Truck will be here. Summer camp. Summer camp starts on Monday. So all of you who are here during the day are going to see the little kitties running around the building. We are holding 2 camps per week, and they run every other week through the end of July. So I do know that having kids in the building is very challenging, especially when you're on a cleaning shift and you're trying to get things done. But just remember that humane education is a core component of our mission. So if we could just try to be accommodating and get through the next couple of months, it would be appreciated. Barkapalooza, we are switching up Barkapalooza this year. Barkapalooza is going to be rebranded. It's going to be Barkapalooza 5K Fun Run and Rescue Fest. So we are adding a 5K component to the beginning of Bark. That will start at 8 a.m. and then the fest will go from 9 to 1. So it's going to be a little bit different of a time frame for that. It'll operate much the same, is that there will be a walk, there'll be the run component instead. And then hopefully everyone will come back and have a great time at our fest. So more details to come about Bark. And finally, adoption figures. Through the end of May, we've done 190 adoptions, 83 dogs, and 107 cats. So the interesting thing is I looked at last year's figures. We had done 84 dogs, so our dog number is exactly the same. Cats, we are down. So we did 107 last year. I think we did like 139 at this time. So our cat number is sort of where we've dropped. I don't know if that's just in terms of how many kittens we currently have in the building. But we're going to talk more about how we're going to get those adopted in Christina's report. But that's all I have. So questions will come at the end, just in case anyone has any questions. But now I'd like to introduce Christina Morrison, our Director of Development.
Hi, so as she said, I am Christina Morrison. I have been involved with West Suburban Humane Society since 2009 as a volunteer and foster mom. I foster failed alum artisanal in 2019, and I started as our very first full-time Director of Development in March of 2020. On my team is Chas Kennedy, our new events coordinator, and we have volunteers that help with marketing, including Stephanie Nordland, Kathy Pesavento, Lorraine Ambler, Robert Martinez, and Lisa Jo Clark. And I also work with the board advisory groups for development and one specifically for our 50th anniversary. And both of these groups are led by board member Colleen Atwell. So these volunteers are indispensable for us getting our message out to the community and to our supporters. So because Director of Development is more of still a new position for us, I wanted to just kind of explain what I do again. My main goal is to build the relationships that strengthen and grow our organization, both with people who know about us already and people who don't in the community. So my main part of my job is to ensure that our supporters and donors feel appreciated. Each one of you donates and supports our organization for a different reason, and I want to make sure that everyone knows they are appreciated and are a vital part of our rescue efforts. I also spend quite a bit of time telling stories about our organization, about the people and the animals who pass through our adoption center, and to talk to you and show you that whether you're donating time or money, or even sharing our posts on social media, you are helping our dogs and cats. I also work to communicate the 3 pillars of our mission. We have dog and cat adoption, humane education, and our newest pillar, which is being a community resource for all pet owners. We added this resource pillar in 2019, and so I've been focusing on that when talking about our mission because that's what people don't know about us. So since 2020, we have formulated a paying it forward donation program. We've always passed on donations we can't use, but as a part of this pillar, we formalized it. And with COVID, food pantries have been having more people than ever needing pet food to help themselves and their pets in their home. And so we provide pet food to 4 local food pantries. And in 2021, we passed on more than 5,000 pounds of pet food. So it's quite a significant amount. And we are also continuing to give extra supplies and other things to local rescues and to our rural rescue partners. Another social justice effort this year has been to research and compile resources for pet owners in need. There are tons of resources out there, especially in the Chicagoland area, to help people with low cost or free vet care and foundations that help you pay your vet bills, like if your dog gets cancer or something, or if you have an unexpected expense. You can get help with that. And so what we have done is compile all these resources that we could find into a PDF document. You can download it from our website under the Resource Center tab, or you can contact our front desk and they will also get you a copy. So we want to make sure that is available for every pet owner who needs it, regardless of whether you got your pet from us. And then, of course, if you have a West Suburban Humane Society alum and you need assistance affording your animal, please contact us because our main goal is to make sure that you never have to return your pet just for a monetary reason. We want your loved family member to stay in your home for the rest of its life. So definitely reach out to us if you need anything. Another social justice effort that we have focused on in the past couple of years is making sure that everyone feels welcome when they come into our adoption center. We have sold Pride-themed t-shirts. We have had Pride-themed photo shoots last year, and we're going to be doing it again this year. And then this year, our very first cat adoption event is going to be June 18th, and it's called Pride Cat Adoption Event. And it is also going to be celebrating our LGBTQ+ staff, volunteers, supporters, and adopters. And we are very excited to give that community a welcoming space to interact with animals and to find their new family member. And then last in my little social justice community resource section, we have a really exciting collaboration that we started last fall. Our West Suburban Humane Society humane educators, Carol and Roberta, have been working with the staff of Metropolitan Family Services, a local nonprofit that helps victims of domestic violence, to provide humane education for free for the clients of Metropolitan Family Services. Carol and Roberta's humane education classes were provided at no cost thanks to a generous grant by the Collins Family Heritage Foundation. This program has been really popular with the families, and we are really excited to see where this collaboration can lead. So let's talk about our events because we have a lot of them this year, celebrating our 50th anniversary. We're also coming out of COVID lockdown, so everybody's wanting to get together in person. We're very excited about that. So we're having a lot of events this year, and most of them are going to be in person. So next week, like I said, is our Pride Cat Adoption event. We are going to fill this room that we're in right now with kittens, and then people can also go into our adult cat rooms. And so it's one of the very few times that you can meet a bunch of West Suburban Humane Society cats all at once. And you don't have to adopt. You are welcome to just come in and hang out and just enjoy being with the cats when you're in here. Or you can apply by Thursday, the 17th, if you would like to adopt that day, or at least get the process started. Just feel free to submit an online application in advance. And then outside under some tents, we're going to have our LGBTQ plus Pride celebration. And there's going to be food, raffles, games, and it's all free. This is a community event and everyone in the community is welcome. So that's next week. And then we don't want to leave the dogs out. So on July 17th, we are having a Mutt Mingle dog speed dating event. So this is geared toward people who are thinking they want a dog, but they don't know what kind of dog they want. That, you know, they want to meet a couple different dogs before making their decision. And we also want to promote some dogs that, you know, for whatever reason are getting overlooked on our website, but they're awesome dogs. And we feel like if you just meet them and hang out with them, you're going to fall in love right away. So, so what we're doing is we're setting up this speed dating event, and you're going to meet several dogs at once in a 2-hour event to find just the right dog for you. And again, we would ask that you apply in advance, we get you approved so that when you come on that day, if you find a dog and you fall in love with it, you can take it home pretty quickly. And our next event on Monday, July 25th, we have our very first golf outing at Prairie Landing Golf Club in West Chicago. It's going to be a fun-filled day of golf, contests, food, and a really great silent auction. And our silent auction includes a Hilton Head long weekend and a Labor Day weekend in Nashville, Tennessee. So anyone, we're going to have those auction items online. Anyone can bid even if you're not there. And it's going to be a really great day. So most of our board's going to be there. So if you want to come and mingle with our board, this would be the great event to go to. And the very next week, we're doing a beer tasting at Skeleton Key Brewery in Woodridge. If you guys remember, this was the brewery that was decimated by the 2021 tornado. Well, they are back up and running and better than ever. And so they just celebrated their grand reopening of their brewery. It's right on Lamont Street, just south of 75th. And we are so excited to have you guys see that space and drink some beers in support of our animals. And if you're not a beer drinker, they do make their own hard seltzer, and they sell Two Fools cider out of Naperville. So everything's local. It'll be delicious. I hope you can come out. We also we're going to have a silent auction with a Galena weekend getaway in this in that auction. So we're very excited to have this event back this year. And then Carolyn talked about Barkapalooza on September 25th, which is a Sunday. And then in October, Gerald Subaru and the Subaru in general are very supportive of dog adoptions and cat adoptions. So we are, again, going to take a bunch of dogs over to Gerald Subaru in Naperville on October 22nd. You'll be able to meet all the dogs that are there. See if you like any of them, see if you want to take one home, and then there'll be raffles and a nice swag bag for the first several families that come. And again, we'll ask that you apply in advance if you want to adopt that day, or just come and meet the dogs. So there's really a lot of opportunity this year to come and meet several dogs or cats at once and get to know our animals in like a fun, you know, low stress, no commitment required way. So we're very proud of that. But events aren't all I do. Later this year, we're having a Paw Pal drive, and we're having a casual happy hour to celebrate our Paw Pal members. Paw Pals are our monthly donors who sign up to have a small donation charged to their credit card every month. We currently have 82 Paw Pal members, and making monthly automatic donations is a very easy way to support our dogs and cats. Knowing that we have these Paw Pal donations coming in every month helps us say yes to animals we know we're going to have medical expenses, or helps us say yes to, say, bringing in 5 animals instead of 3 when we get a transport coming in. So if you want to take the next step and become a valued Paw Pal supporter, you can go to our website. Just like you're going to make a regular donation, there's a drop-down box that says make this monthly. Just click make it monthly, and it's that easy. And then you'll get to come to our happy hour with the board event later this summer. So watch for that. And then we have a legacy society. So these are people who have told us that they are leaving money in their estate plan or their will for West Suburban Humane Society. And that's another easy way to help our dogs and cats because you can't take it with you. So generous bequests played a huge part in raising the $4 million we needed to build this adoption center. So this money is very important to us. And so if you have included us in your estate plan or your will, reach out to me and let me know so that we can make sure you get thanked while you're still here to enjoy it. So, so if you want to hear more about our work, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn. And we subscribe to our emails that you can do from the bottom of our website's homepage. That's the best way to find out what's going on around our shelter. And if you ever want to talk about how to get more involved or support our work, I'm always open to talk. You can email me at development@wshs-dg.org, or you can call my direct number. It's 630-442-0671. And I'm happy to answer any questions you have or talk to you more about our work and ways that you can help out. All right. And with that, I'm going to introduce our treasurer, Carrie Copera. Thank you.
All right. Well, welcome. It's so nice to have a bigger audience in the crowd than we had last year. So thank you all for coming. I'm Carrie Copera. I am the treasurer. This is my second year as being the treasurer of the board. Although I have been involved with the Adoption Center since 2019, I'm on the Tuesday morning kennel shift. Cleaning kennels, which I really love. It's my Tuesday morning workout, getting a chance to do that and just petting the dogs and everything like that. I am also a foster failure. Many of you know Kiana, Kiki we call her now, Alaska Malamute, who we took in as a foster. She had 2 hips replaced, and after a year of care, we decided she was part of our family, so we she's ours now. So you see, oh, can you go to the next slide? Thank you. I feel like Vanna White. So here are the financial information. So what I'm showing here is the statement of activities of how West Suburban did in 2021. I've also shown as a comparison of the 2020 numbers. I should also note that the 2021 numbers are not finalized yet. We're finishing up the audit and we hope to have it done by the end of the month. When it is done, we do post our audited financial statements on our website, so you'll be able to see them then. The statement of activities is the same as an income statement that other organizations will follow, but since we're a not-for-profit, we call it a statement of activities. You can see for 2021, we lost $54,875. This represents revenues minus expenses equals our change in net assets. You'll also see that we lost a similar amount in the prior year. We were fortunate in 2021 that we received a PPP, a Paycheck Protection Program loan of $55,000. And even better is we had received one in the prior year, and both of those loans got forgiven in 2021. So in the revenues, you can see that we have $110,000 of revenue from government grants that we were able to show as part of our resources. When comparing 2021 to 2020, a few things that I wanted to point out. Our revenues did increase by $137,000 or 14.6% as we did increase donations, newsletters, investment income, and adoption fees over the prior year. 2021 does include that PPP loan forgiveness of $110,000, but was offset against lower bequests that we received in 2021 of $127,000. Now, what are bequests? Christina just mentioned the legacy system, and that represents those generous donors who have left West Suburban in their will, and when they pass away, we get notified of the fact that we're in their will and we get a distribution once the state has been finalized. So those are very important to West Suburban. A plug for you, Christina, again. In terms of expenses, we did spend $1.1 million as compared to $991,000 in 2020, or $138,000 more than the prior year. The main increase you'll see is in program services, which are the costs to run this wonderful adoption center. So it includes the salaries, all of the animal care costs, vet costs, food that we provide to the animals, foster care families, all of those items, as well as what we call depreciation and utilities in our building. Part of the increase year over year is we're is a result of increase in costs that we've all been experiencing during the pandemic, as well as the fact that in 2020 we had moved into the new adoption center in March, so it's not a equal year-over-year comparison. So for 2022, we've budgeted to break even this year. We have budgeted our contributions to increase from donations as well as more events. Christina went through all the events that we're planning, and I had planned to give a plug to the golf committee about our first annual golf outing that's coming up next month, and hope folks are going to be able to join us. And our expenses are budgeted to only increase slightly. We are thankfully expecting a few bequests. We've already received information from some donors who have passed away, unfortunately. And so we're just grateful for all of the contributions that we receive from all of you, as well as those bequests that do come in from donors. So we thank you for your support, and I'm going to now turn it over to our president, Scott McMillan.
Thank you, Carrie. As I said at the beginning, my name is Scott McMillan. I have been a volunteer here for around 5 years. Started volunteering with my middle daughter when she was 12, she's now 17, in the kennels. Shortly thereafter, my wife and our youngest, who's now 14, started volunteering in the cattery. So now we do the every other Sunday night shift where the 4 of us all come and 2 of us take out the dogs and 2 actually just play with the kittens for 2 hours, which seems like a pretty good deal. I joined the board 3 years ago, and then became the president of the board this January, so just about 5 or 6 months ago. In my day job, I'm a lawyer. I work for a law firm downtown, and as you probably know, all members of the board are volunteers. We aren't compensated for what we do. We have an ideal board size of 12 members. We are close to that most of the time. Everyone has a 2-year term that can be renewed for up to 3 successive periods. So we do have turnover year to year, so sometimes we're a little bit more or less than that. But we're also what we consider a working board, because with only 2 full-time staff that you've heard from tonight here at the shelter, we don't have all of the skill sets that you need to run an organization. So Christian and I are lawyers. You've got, Carrie and Mark and Bob who have, finance backgrounds who help us with the finance side. You have Colleen who had a career in development. We just had a board member who moved to Michigan who had a career in marketing. Our board vice president runs a construction company and knows a lot about facilities management and project management, as does Sarah, who you'll be hearing from shortly. So we try and invite members to join the board who bring skill sets that are complementary to those that are brought by our full-time staff. And we do spend time not just as a board, but outside of the board working in advisory groups, or in Carrie's case, she comes in a half day a week to work with Carolyn on the finances, to make sure the bookkeepers have everything, to write the checks, to deposit checks. So we are very much of a working board. I just wanted to talk for a couple of minutes about strategic planning. That's something that the board takes very seriously. What is our vision? What are our goals for the organization going forward? We have formed a committee that has 2 components to it. There's a financial strategic planning side and an operational strategic planning side. On the financial side, we have one primary goal, which is to become cash flow neutral. You just saw from Carrie that we've lost 50-some thousand each of the last 2 years. And as a nonprofit, we're not here to make money, but we'd like to at least break even every year. And as Carrie indicated, our primary sources of revenue are donations and events. And we also get money from adoption fees, but that's smaller than those 2 large components. And we haven't quite been able to get to break even. We're budgeting this year to do that. That is one of our goals, to look at how do we increase revenue from donations? How do we increase revenue from events? You heard all of Christina's plans for expanding events this year to help us get there. And the past few years, what has gotten us to cash flow neutral have been bequests. Fortunately or unfortunately, we have been included in people's wills when they've passed away, but that's obviously not something we can budget or plan around. So we would love to get to cash flow neutral based on what we consider consistent annual revenues, And then if we do have bequests, we can use that for, long-term planning. Like, do we want an endowment? Do we have long-term capital projects that we would like to have money set aside for? So that's our primary. Everyone can say hi to Walter. Right. So on the financial side, our primary goal is getting to cash flow neutral. On the operational side, we've been discussing four goals. One is to improve the customer experience. We want to create an environment of positive experiences, no matter what the outcome is for a potential adopter, a volunteer, or a donor. So we're monitoring online reviews and looking at what kind of feedback we get there. We're working on streamlining and improving the adoption process. As many of you know, during COVID, we went to an adoption by appointment process, and that has actually improved quite a bit the reviews that we're getting for the adoption process, because anyone who might have an issue figures that out before they come in, when they fill out the application and speak to someone, not once they've fallen in love with a kitten or a puppy and then are told their landlord won't let them have a pet. So that's one thing that we've done that has improved the outcomes, and we're constantly looking to ways in which we can continue to improve them. Also, as Sarah will talk about in a few minutes, we started the Volunteer Advisory Committee a couple of years ago, and that is a great forum for us to get feedback from the volunteers about things that are going well or things that we might improve on, so that we as a board and the staff can discuss, what we should do to change how we operate to improve the volunteer experience as well. The second goal we have is to increase the number of adoptions. The more animals we adopt, the more lives we save. The shorter the time period animals are in the adoption center, the more animals we can get in and the more lives that we can save. So obviously that's critical to our mission as an adoption center. And so we've been looking at how do we take animals in? What's our mix of animals? How do we market our animals? How do they look on the website? How do we reach out and find more potential adopters or more eyeballs on our website to become potential adopters? So we're looking at many different things to try and help us increase the number of adoptions on a year-over-year basis. Related to that, our fourth goal is to expand West Suburban's reach. How do we reach more people? How do more people learn about us and learn about our mission? And the more people you reach, the more volunteers, donors, and adopters that you can find. So we're looking at, do we hold events in different places? Do we expand the number of events? Do we target different groups with our events? Do we do humane education? Do we partner with underserved communities? How are ways in which we can just get more and more people to learn about West Suburban, learn about our mission, and want to buy in and be a part of the organization? So we're looking at several different ways to do that. The last operational goal I'll talk about is improving our operations and developing standard operating procedures. We're currently in the process of reviewing all of the SOPs that we have for the organization. Obviously, with the new adoption center a little over 2 years ago, it gives us the opportunity to start over and reevaluate. We need to have procedures that work in this building, and we've developed them. And now we're saying, hey, how is it working 2 years in? What needs to be changed going forward? And as Carolyn alluded to, 2 years in, we're already confronting, IT systems that need to get replaced, washers and dryers breaking, the blinds in here breaking, the HVAC system not working, the kennel doors. It's just normal, aches and pains of a building, but we're looking at what is the best way to handle all of that. And one of them, as Carolyn said, is to get a part-time maintenance contract so that we can have someone in here to keep this building the absolute state-of-the-art facility that it is. So in closing, I would just say, how do we view the organization looking forward? I think that the future of West Suburban is very bright. We have a state-of-the-art facility, one of the nicest animal care facilities in the region. We have an amazing staff. We have over 450 totally committed volunteers who are the lifeblood of the organization. We could not do what we do without the absolute commitment of those 450 volunteers. We also have a very committed donor base. We need about $1.1 million a year to operate this facility. And without the donors and their continuing year-over-year commitment, we would not be able to continue to operate like we do. And so while we are, facing challenges in raising money and expanding our reach like every nonprofit, I'm very excited about what the future holds and about how bright it is for this organization. Thank you. So apparently they didn't do over. No.
Let's start again. I don't know where that, okay.
Two quick points that Sarah made me think of. One is when I talked about the skill sets that the board members bring. We also have a veterinarian on the board, Lynn Edmondson. Lynn could not be here tonight because she had animals she had to take care of at the vet that ran late. But obviously being a humane society, having a vet on the board is a key skill set that we need. The second is, she made me think that I've adopted 4 cats, the most recent one of which was a foster fail. We had been in the old building just before we moved over here when COVID hit. And we said, you know, as a board, we should try and encourage everyone to foster as many animals as possible so we don't need to have volunteers in the building or reduce the number of volunteers.
Right.
So my kids overheard me and they're like, the gray kitten in the kitten room. So I forget if I called Christina or Carolyn. I'm like, could we foster the gray kitten? And then I forget who responded, says, come in a half hour, it will be in a carrier on the front step for you.
Get the kid.
So I took the kitten and as I drove home, I knew it was a done deal.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes, that's why animals do not come into my house because they don't leave. So yes, not a good foster. So we
So
don't have any
let's-
questions online.
It says 5.
Yeah, I
But are
think
they
it's,
all? Yeah, it's all about
it's all about muting.
my failed, yeah. So all about muting. So there are no
All about muting.
online questions, but does anyone here have question for Carolyn or me or anyone on the board?
So how do you become interested?
So
Always repeat the question.
So the question is, how does someone let folks know if they're interested in being on the board? So we have a governance committee on the board, and Mark Mattel, who can raise his hand, is head of the governance committee. And so you can either, there's a place on the website, I believe, that you can indicate interest, but you can
Yes.
email Carolyn or email Mark.
You could do
And-
the board at too.
And board at, and just let us know, hey, I'm interested. And then Mark would reach back out to that person and do an initial interview with the person and send them an application. And then if they wanted to proceed, it would move to the governance committee to do, an interview with them and decide whether or not this was a person that should be presented to the board.
How involved is the board in just daily activities of the shelter?
So
Are you guys mainly-
as a general matter, the board's role is to create the policies that govern how the adoption center is run, but we're not involved in the day-to-day running of it. So we're not going to be reviewing intake or adoptions. Obviously, if there's some big issue that Carolyn wants to raise to us, we're happy to discuss it. And she and I have a standard Wednesday call where if any issues crop up in the week, we'll discuss them. But we're not, the board is not there to manage day-to-day activities in any way.
Other than I will say, not to manage it, but that's part of the strategic plan is looking at all those components of adoptions and intake and that kind of thing and seeing where we can make changes to stay more sort of cutting edge and to adopt out more animals.
So we would look at what policy should we adopt to help us get there.
Right.
But then once we
Right.
do that, it's going to be Carolyn and the staff that
Right.
implement them.
Mary's the only one with questions.
Other questions?
Go ahead. No, yeah, go ahead.
Do you think you have enough staff to, full-time staff? Like for animal intake or you guys pretty? I'll just keep
Okay. So Mary's,
the
the older dogs.
older.
So Mary's question was, do we have enough full-time staff or enough staff in general to manage all the animals that are in our care? We do need another part-time person. I mean, our animal care team are not technically full-time, but they work 35 to 40 hours per week. We need another one for sure. So we have been, yes, they are. So we definitely need one more. We would love to have a trainer or behaviorist on our staff. That's why we partnered with Enjoy Your Dog, because it's just small steps right now. But yes, we would love to. Jen and Lexi are going to be hearing more in the days coming up, but they went to a conference, so they come back and they're super excited and they have great ideas. But it's going to be just a path to get there. But yes, what they heard, just if anyone's interested, it'll be very short. What they heard from all the other rescues and shelters that attended, that the trend during COVID and before COVID, where people were moving through your general everyday, your average good family dog. And now what shelters are seeing, all the shelters that was conference are seeing behavior dogs, but dogs that have behavior issues, that aren't the easier to adopt dogs. So that was a lot of what was addressed at this conference, is how do you help, like putting more education into helping with anxious dogs or dogs that have certain behaviors, like how do we help them and how do you train the volunteers and the staff to help them, and then how do you get them adopted? So that was, I guess, a very big focus. They just came back today, so I haven't fleshed it all out, but that was, they said, a very big focus of this seminar that they attended. So I'm hoping they'll have good information to share with us so that we can put in small steps some of these things into place. But we wanted to start, the training aspect was very important. How do we keep it going to help these dogs get adopted?
But it's been a very challenging labor environment the past, 6 to 9 months. So getting another animal care person has been a recognized challenge for the organization. And honestly, there's been a proposal on the table between the board and staff to maybe create a foster care coordinator position who could then focus on, take some of the burden off animal care and off Heidi. So that person could then focus on dealing with all the animals that are in foster care. But again, we got to get the animal care solved first before we can move on to foster care. So we do have plans. It's just staffing and funding are.
Right. And, the foster coordinator could reach out and find more fosters that could take some of the older animals, like a Barney or something, into a foster situation, and, get them out of the shelter environment. So, sure. Mary, I'm just kidding. Any other questions? Just kidding. Anybody? Any other questions? Yes, Christy.
And being part of the Enjoy Your Dog training with Zuko and with him, I was wondering if there's any way that we maybe take us people that are in those classes and work with some of our members on a shift a little more.
So Christy asked if she's one of the volunteers attending the Enjoy Your Dog training with Zuko. And she asked, is there a way for the people attending the class to share that with their fellow volunteers? And yes, it would be great to have those handouts that they're sharing with you back there. And yes, absolutely. Because it probably not all, however many kennel volunteers we have, 200 or 250 kennel volunteers, aren't going to be able to come to training. So it would be great to communicate that to as many people as possible, so that, I took Zuko out and on my shift and I'm like, well, I don't know what they taught him. So what I'm doing to make him get off my leg and stop biting it isn't working, because I don't know what you're supposed to do. Right. So, it would be very helpful to definitely share that with as many people as possible, because it transfers to every dog now, right? It will go to any dog that you, I think, did it with Betty, the dog.
Yeah.
You practiced that with Betty and it worked out great.
So one second. So in the vein of sharing, I took Zuko out Sunday night and the solution was a tennis ball.
Oh.
Gave him the tennis ball, he threw it, he chased it, he brought it back, then he'd sit there, chew on it. He wanted to be petted and he could just chew on the tennis ball.
Instead of you.
Had no issues with anything else.
I'm going to work with him a little bit this afternoon. Tennis ball, the plate, and bag of treats. He was like, no, you're our chase.
That's true.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. I was just thinking, let the Star Dogs come back with a training plan, and I know that sometimes it's general to every Star Dog, and sometimes there's specific stuff, but could we have the Zuko training, put that together?
Oh.
Like a start, you know what I mean?
Heidi asked if we could put together, similar to Star Dogs, if we could put together a training plan specific to Zuko and Chevy, and I don't see why not. We could take those handouts and do something similar.
You know, Scott says, hey, this worked, we could add that to it.
Oh, that is one thing, thank you, that they did, Lexi and Jen did talk to me about today, because it goes directly to that, is instead of doing a watch log, putting a behavior log, so that volunteers can list their different experiences, like you said, hey, I took Zuko out and this tennis ball was great, or Barney really loves to go on walks and people are taking him in a yard, like just to do more the good and the bad so that we get a more round picture. You know, we temperament test and it's a snapshot in time for what that dog is acting like. So what are you experiencing when you're walking them on the street or in the yard? It helps us to better place them because we're seeing, again, the snapshot.
One thing with that, I know I read through the watch log, behavior log all the time, but sometimes, you know, the sheet's gone from last week, what happened, you know, that Scott had with Zuko. And maybe if we could, I don't know, maybe have a log for each dog.
Christy mentioned maybe that we could do a log for each dog, or, you know, they write something on the log and then we collect those because they're a lot. And then we take them back to animal care and they look through them. I think that the VAC committee, not to speak out of turn for them, but I think they're looking at a resource to have something electronic back there where you can have notes that you can look at that just stay going. That it's not, you know, like a computer or a tablet or something. It's in the works to figure out what's that look like so that the information does not disappear. Maybe the flash report goes on there so it can be more interactive, not changing it, but hey, this says this on the flash report, but I'm noticing XYZ and putting it in another column. Because again, we get a more well-rounded picture of the dog, and maybe someone is doing something that works great for them, and then they could say, hey, I had this great success, and then others can follow. Yes, did I speak? Is that correct?
That is
Okay. Eric?
The job body language training that you mentioned.
Yes.
You can video that.
Oh.
So other people can watch it.
Eric asked if our seminar on July 24th can be videotaped, and I don't see why not. It depends on Kelly, the trainer. There's 3 of the trainers. They were thinking of maybe doing like a round robin session where, depending on how many people, we have them in 3 areas, and then they do a section and then move to, and they kind of, you know, you go to like a different module, not doing it all together. So we'd have to figure it out, but I don't see why not, especially the dog body language piece. That's good for everybody to see that. That, you know, would be great.
Yeah.
Only one question per customer. I'm sorry, sir. Just kidding. Yes, sir.
I mean, I've seen other shelters that have done. I think. You know, that I've.
Yes.
That we good information, a little better information. So it's something that consider when you think.
I do know that Enjoy Your Dog is working on, I don't want to inflate the number, but I think she told me like do you remember her talking about the video she's doing, Christina? Like 300 videos on different like dog things. It's all dog, it's not cat, but we would have access to those once she puts them online. We would be able to direct people to those videos. So I'm assuming on like a variety of different topics and subjects, and they're just short little videos, so they're not really long, but as soon as those are up and running, she did say we could access those. So, yeah. Yes. Yeah. Heidi.
Still looking for body language videos to show volunteers during, so maybe instead of getting language that you don't see a lot, right, with dogs, it'd be nice maybe if we could take that and share that, like our dogs.
Maybe we could even ask them to come on a separate day and do that, like just focus on, you know, because they're really interesting. We had Faye when she was here, she went back to training to get some more training, and we were watching her while the trainer was working with her, and there are such subtle cues of things, and each dog's cues are different. So I learned a lot, like watching the trainer tell us, like, look at this cue, this is what she's doing. And sometimes it's a wrinkle of a forehead, sometimes it's an ear moves a different way. Everyone thinks the dog wagging its tail means it's happy, and that's not true. Dogs wag their tails for all sorts of reasons, excitement, when they're gonna eat you, like it doesn't mean they're happy. So it would be great. Yes, I think that's a great idea because that's something that's, again, it's so subtle that you just need to watch it several times to get it. Anybody else? I think that's it.
Yeah, we've got most of the board here, so I think we're all happy to mingle for a few minutes. If anyone wants to meet other members of the board or ask us individual questions instead of in front of the group, we'll stick around.
All right, thank you, everybody.